You want to chill on my lap? No? All right. Fair enough. All right. Let's just make sure the YouTube's awake. Looks like we're here. Yes. All right. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, good day, good morrow, good times, salutations, whatever's going on where you're at. I hope it's okay. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying home. I hope you're staying out of trouble. I hope you're maybe practicing that instrument that you don't get to practice much. I hope you're exploring a new series of books. I just hope everything's going okay. It is Thursday. The date is April the 23rd in this quarantined year of our Lord 2020. April 23rd. I hope everything's well. Guys, it hit the Twitter sphere yesterday. The big question, is Jesse Ventura going to run for president, and will he be running for president as a Green? Well, in a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Michael ONeill, the communications director for the Green Party, and he's going to enlighten us on that and some other things pertaining to the Green Party. He's kind of going to just give us a crash course on what is going on. Let me just make sure he got everything he needs, because he's going to be hopping in around 11:30. Yeah. All right. So that's going to be coming up soon. But first, you guys know that we are amidst the Earth Day. Well, technically, yesterday was Earth Day, but sometimes people acknowledge it for a few days. And also, you guys know music's a big deal on this show. Well, here's a story that really connects them both. Check this out. The band Aha and how they helped the electric car. Norway and the aha moment that made electric cars the answer. So check this out. In 1995, the lead singer of the 1980s band Aha, if you don't remember who that is, they did Take On Me. That's their big hit, Take On Me, which, by the way, that's the song of the day in their honor. That's got to be the song of the day. Aha, Take On Me. It's a classic. It's an 80s pop tune. Even if you don't think you know it, you probably know it. It's one of those songs you're like, oh, yeah, I've heard this. I've heard this. It makes you think of the Breakfast Club. It makes you think of a dance in the 80s with big poofy dresses and the crush in the movie. And you're like, yeah, it's that kind of a song. But it turns out it also really helped out the electric car. Not that song necessarily, but the band and the singer. All right, so in 1995, the lead singer of the band Aha, who is not a pencil drawing in real life. That was just for the music video. But anyway, he's also the head of the Norwegian environmental group, Bellona, and he climbed in probability into a converted electric Fiat Panda they had imported from Switzerland and set off on a road trip. So I did not know that there was a Fiat model referred to as the Panda, admittedly. I did not know that. I've never driven a Fiat before. I've been inside of Fiats before, and the only time I've ever been inside a Fiat, actually, was in Italy, because that's what my family drove out in Italy. And I noticed it was a little smaller than most cars I'm used to. It was really nice on the inside. And, they just kind of drive it around when they need it. I think my family, the only thing they ever use their car for, my family who lives in Italy, the only thing they ever use their car for is to just go to the grocery store and back. Like, that's the only time they ever need it. So, and in like the big grocery store, like not just like they'll go to like just the farmers, like food markets are all over the city. So they'll just go to that. But occasionally they have to go to like the grocery store. And I'm pretty sure that's the only time they ever used their car. So every time I was in their car, which was only like once or twice, it felt like I was in a new car. Like, I'm like, is this a rental? And it's like, no, we never use this. Anyway. All right. So lead singer of the band Aha got into an electric car, and they got it from Switzerland, set off on a road trip. They drove around Oslo, refusing to pay the city's sky-high road tolls, parking illegally wherever they could, and ignoring every penalty notice they were given. Eventually, the authorities impounded their car and auctioned it off to cover the fines. So Take On Me, more like they took on the law, and the law won. They fought the law and they said, take on me. See how I tied in two songs there? Lucy thought it was so clever, she jumped off my lap immediately. Everybody's a critic. Anyway, all right, so he did that. But the stunt attracted massive media attention, and the point was made. Soon after, electric vehicles were exempted from road tolls, one of a large raft of incentives that have, over the years, helped make Norway the country with the world's highest per capita electric vehicle ownership. Last month, so get these numbers out of Norway as far as electric vehicle ownership goes. Last month, in an economy hit by the coronavirus crisis, fully electric cars accounted for just under 60% of Norway's new car market, and plug-in hybrids just over 15, meaning 3 in 4 of all new cars sold were either wholly or partly electric. That's incredible. I mean, that's really, really good. About 75%, either fully or partly electric, of all the cars going out in Norway. Now, it still has some way to go, the article goes on to say, but the country looks on course to meet a government target. Now, listen to their government target. Listen to Norway's government target. And then think about in the United States, where we have one candidate for president, the current incumbent, who doesn't even think climate change is real, who has no climate plan whatsoever. And then we have a challenger who has a climate plan that would have been on the ball in 1986. So that's what we have. Here's what they have in Norway. The government target set in 2016 with a full cross-party parliamentary support. That means the right-wing party supports it too. That's what that means, by the way. Phasing out the sale of all new fossil fuel-based cars and light commercial vehicles by 2025. So let that sink in. Next time somebody tells you that the Overton window in the United States, which is the acceptable range of political conversation, is so far to the right that they had to buy a new camera to zoom out to get how far to the right it is, and you think that's even anything close to an embellishment, remind yourself that in Norway, the right-wing party is on board with eliminating all fossil fuel vehicles, the sale of all new fossil fuel vehicles by 2025. That's the right-wing party is on board with that. Left-wing party is too, obviously, but the right-wing, their right-wing is okay with that. They're like, yeah, we need this. That's what's going on in Norway. You compare that to the United States. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so yeah. It's actually quite amazing how fast the mindset's changed, said Christina Bu of the Norwegian EV Electronic Vehicle Association. Even in 2013 or 2014, people were skeptical. Now, a majority of Norwegians will say, my next car will be electric. And you gotta feel it because it's electric. Boogie, woogie, woogie, woogie. And then they'll do that. And then they'll play a-ha's Take On Me, which again, song of the day. So there you go. Lead singer from a-ha. This is him. Schweinstein. That's his name. That's Schweinstein. I'm probably saying it wrong. I don't mean to. I'm actually trying. But Schweinstein, the lead singer for a-ha. This is the guy in the music video. He was a pencil drawing running around. And there he is charging his electric vehicle. And at one point he said, hey, cops, take on me. And they were like, all right, we will. And he's like, well, I still made my point. And presumably paid all the fines because I'm rich and I can afford that. So there you go. Shout out to a-ha. Song of the day, Take On Me. It's a classic. Revisit it. And of course, it's the song of the day. Not because I think I'm introducing you to anything new, but because, hey, he did this for electric vehicles. How cool is that? Pretty cool. Guys, I'm going to share this real quick before we get to Jesse Ventura and Mike ONeill. Tara Reid is still going on in the news, and the corporate media is pretty much ignoring it. And here's what's going on. There's one piece of the Tara Reid story where she says that she filed a complaint with the Senate personnel offices. All of the staffers for Biden and everybody who would have received that, they deny it. And people are wondering, well, are we going to find out the truth? Well, here's what's going on. Crystal Ball tweeted this. Tara Reid says she filed a sexual harassment complaint with the Senate Personnel Office. Biden's camp denied this ever happened. If a record exists, it will be housed at the University of Delaware, but they are keeping Biden's record sealed. And here's a further explanation of that. And in U Delaware, which houses the collection of Biden's senatorial papers, just confirmed to me that the papers, this is a journalist named Rich McHugh tweeting this, just confirmed to me, this journalist, that the papers will remain closed to the public until 2 years after Mr. Biden retires from public life. So when will we find out if that's true or not? After Joe Biden retires. That's when. After he retires. Wow, that's useful. That's helpful. Man, that is something. That is something. So that piece of the puzzle, we're just never going to find out. And by the way, New York Times, really quick to point that out. Washington Post, really quick to point that out. She said she filed a harassment claim with the Senate personnel. No one has any recollection of that. They don't bother mentioning, oh, and by the way, we're never going to find out because they're going to keep those records sealed. They're not going to reveal anything. So we're never going to find out the truth. New York Times won't tell you that part. Washington Post won't tell you that part. It takes independent journalists to tell you that part. So, isn't that great? Isn't that great? What a system we have. And when you see stuff like this, you realize now more than ever before, we really need to break up this two-party duopoly. We really need to have more options. We really need to have a better tomorrow, which brings me to my guest for the day, waiting patiently in the green room, no pun intended, Mr. Michael ONeill. Michael, how are you?
Hey, Ron. I'm great. How are you?
Good, man. You are perfect in the frame, right in center. It's lovely. Michael ONeill is the communications director for the Green Party of the United States, and we got a couple things to talk about today. One of them, well, we'll start with Jesse Ventura. So that hit the blogosphere last night that Jesse Ventura might allegedly run as a Green. Do you have any insider info you can share with us, Michael? Is that true? Did you receive anything?
The Green Party has received something from someone who was writing on behalf of Jesse Ventura. It's called a letter of interest.
Okay.
And so there's a process to running for president. Even within the Green Party, we have steps that people need to go through in order to be declared what we call first an active candidate. Someone that our Presidential Campaign Support Committee has recognized as this is someone who is seriously and actively running to seek the Green Party nomination for president. And so one of the first steps is for a letter of interest. And so our Presidential Campaign Support Committee did receive a secondhand letter of interest written by someone saying that they were writing on behalf of Governor Ventura, and that they were exploring the possibility of running for the Green Party nomination. And that's key, exploring the possibility. And so given that we only have this letter from someone asserting to be a representative of Jesse Ventura, and that there's been no filing with the Federal Elections Commission, the FEC, and there's no candidate website, that at the time of receiving this, and as of this moment, the Presidential Campaign Support Committee has not declared Jesse Ventura to be an active candidate. They didn't feel like until the governor himself asserted that he is, in fact, exploring the possibility of running for office, that there were no grounds for acknowledging him as an active candidate.
Well, and he himself has actually said, I have not filed the paperwork yet. I mean, as of his Twitter feed as of yesterday, that's what he said, where he's like, I have not formally filed yet. So that's matching up with what he's saying too. So what would the process be then for him or anyone else who wanted to jump in at this point in the game?
Well, like I said, first they need to get that active candidate status. And so they need to establish an FEC campaign committee. They need to establish a website and then ask for official recognition as an active candidate. And then our committee that oversees all this stuff votes, declares this candidate in question active. Then the next step is to seek official recognition, which means getting a certain number of small dollar donations and a few other kind of just gathering signatures of support. And the candidates for the Green Party nomination who have achieved that level of official recognition are Howie Hawkins, Dario Hunter, and David Rold.
Okay.
And so to answer your question a little bit further, like it's technically possible for a candidate to become an active candidate and get official recognition at this point. There's no party rule that I'm aware of that would bar a candidate from seeking the Green Party nomination at this date. Now, there are state primaries that have already happened. There are state primaries, and by state primary within the Green Party, we could be talking about like a state board of elections run primary, or we could be talking about a state convention that's hosted by the state party. There's a few different permutations there, but states have voted, Greens and states have voted already for their presidential preference from the candidates that were available at that time, or that were put on the ballot in their state at that time. And there are states that have not yet done their vote, but they've already solidified their ballot. So for instance, in my home state of New York, where I live, we are going to have a virtual convention because we are in this COVID-19 pandemic. So we had to, so I'm currently working on planning two different virtual conventions, one for my state, and then I'm also on the team for the national virtual convention, which will still be on July 11th. But the point is that we've already locked the ballot for our virtual convention. We've already disseminated the ballot as a PDF that we're then having registered Greens mail back in an all absentee ballot process. So there are hurdles for a candidate who is declaring at this date, but it's not administratively impossible for a candidate to leap in now.
Well, so what would their path to victory look like then? Would they need to just kind of get on the remaining states and then have, I mean, what exactly takes place at the large convention is in July? Is that just where you guys make the formal announcement, or is there more to it than that for anyone who's not familiar with the anatomy of the Green Party?
There is more to it than that. So there's about 400 delegate votes that are in the universe of the Green Party nomination. And the candidate to win the nomination needs a majority of those votes. Now, in different states, they have different rules about how candidates might be bound going into the convention. A lot of folks who were supporters of Senator Bernie Sanders in 2016 and this past year were concerned about so-called superdelegates who were just completely unbound going into the convention and could vote for whoever they wanted to in the first round of voting. That was the case in 2016. So for the Green Party, that's decided state by state. In New York, I can just speak to that example. Our delegates are bound to a particular candidate for president in the first round of voting. So if candidate A wins 60% of the delegates for New York to the Green Party of the United States Convention, and candidate B wins 40%, then the delegates who are apportioned to candidate A, who are representing candidate A's delegates at the physical, or in this case, virtual convention, they have to vote for candidate A in that first round of voting. And if candidate A gets a majority of delegates in the first round of voting, that's it. That candidate won the Green Party nomination. Now, if it's a so-called contested convention or brokered convention where there is no majority of delegates going to a candidate before the convention starts, you don't have a candidate winning a majority in the first round of voting at the convention, then delegates, depending on the rules of their state party, have the option possibly of switching their vote to a different candidate. And maybe that might sound strange to a lot of people, but you have to take into account that a lot can happen between when a state primary happens and when a convention is conducted. A candidate might drop out, and they advocate for their delegates to switch to a different candidate. Now, the candidate can't mandate their delegates switch to a different candidate, but the candidates who sought to represent the delegates who sought to represent that candidate at the convention are more than likely to at least listen to the candidate's wishes. A candidate could get sick or injured, any number of things. And so at a convention, as you get into beyond the first round of voting, delegates are there to represent the Greens in their state and make choices. They're not just there to be just to like be a robot.
And you are going to do this all virtually in July.
We're going to have to.
No, I know. That's just, I mean, obviously this will be a first, right? Like you've never had to do this before, presumably. That
it's a first for the Green Party. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the first for, man. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting process, man. It's going to be something.
And it's tough because we want to have an exercise in democracy.
Of course.
And so we want our delegates, whether it's at an in-person convention or a virtual convention, to have the ability to deliberate and to caucus and to make decisions and to strategize, because like this is the real deal. We're running someone for president and we're running someone for vice president. And this is going to be, in many ways, the face of our party, if not for the rest of the year, then for years beyond that. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big decision. And it's not a simple decision always. Sometimes it's very clear. The majority of the Greens who are voting in primaries and caucuses and whatnot going into the convention have all chosen one candidate, then that's going to be the Green Party nominee unless that candidate backs out. So it could get complex. And so we want to have a virtual space where people can talk and come to agreement and work out their disagreements in a way that's flexible, but also that we want to have the kinds of accountability and the kinds of cohesion that we would have if we were all physically in the same space. So that's getting into some like serious like political party wonkery and geekery. And I hope I'm not driving away your audience in droves, but those are some of the things that myself and some other longtime party organizers and staffers are working on right now.
So let's get into some of the other hurdles that the Green Party and, well, I guess all third parties in general, but, you know, the Green Party being among them, is facing amidst this pandemic. And that is the situation with ballot access come the general. So can you speak to that? I know that we covered some of this on the show already. Essentially, what's going on is that in a typical election year, you guys, whether it's the Greens or the Libertarians or any other party that wants to get on the general ballot, they gather signatures state by state, and they have to do that physically, and then they submit it, and then they get on those ballots. Well, now that's not possible because of the pandemic. So what's going on there?
Right. Well, going into this year, the Green Party was already on the ballot for president in 21 states. And in 2016, we were on the ballot in at least 45 states, and we don't want to backslide from that. So we have Greens out there who, in their respective states, are trying to make sure that as many voters as possible have as many choices as possible for the most powerful office in the country. And but as you said, the usual process is through petitioning. And going door to door and petitioning during a pandemic is going to put in jeopardy, put in harm's way, the very people that we seek to represent in office, not to mention the petitioners themselves, our local and state candidates, and the families of all of our local and state candidates. So we have been asking state governments for emergency relief, not just for our presidential petitioning, but for all candidates across the country, all Green Party candidates, and really all candidates, right, who are affected by this, to either dramatically lower signature requirements, grant automatic ballot access, or to replace petitioning with a reasonable filing fee. And we think those are reasonable measures that a governor could enact with a stroke of a pen. We understand that the crises that we're facing, right? People are dying every day. People are getting sick every day. We've got frontline workers and healthcare and so many other areas who are, putting their lives on the line to try and keep essential services running while so many of us are in lockdown. We understand this is not the first item on a lot of people's agendas. At the same time, we shouldn't have to sacrifice democracy to get through this pandemic. It is not an either or proposition. There are very simple, very straightforward remedies where we can still have elections, we can still give voters a choice on election day, and also keep each other safe, keep our communities safe during the pandemic. Now, are governors being receptive to this? It's not great. Some state governments have been. Vermont took action through their legislature. And in New Jersey, they are allowing electronic collection of signatures, which is helpful. But we're having to go ahead.
One state has already done that then. New Jersey is saying you can do this electronically. And well, what did Vermont do? You said that is Vermont considering that, or has Vermont declared that as well, or what's the situation with Vermont?
Vermont just went ahead and waived signatures entirely, if I have that correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And now in Illinois, we actually had to go to court. And so there was a joint lawsuit that was filed alongside with the Libertarian Party, and we had to take the state government to court. This was filed by the State Green Party of Illinois. Kudos to them. They did amazing work on this. And it was just recently announced in Ballot Access News that a judge has dramatically reduced signature requirements overall. And what they said is, if you were on the ballot as a party in 2018 or 2016, we're just going to assume that you're on the ballot this year. So the Green Party will be on the ballot in Illinois for this year because of those previous years of successful ballot access. And that's what we're looking for. And the problem is that we have this patchwork state by state system of election laws, and we have a lot of state governments that are dragging their feet, kicking and screaming, and that we're going to have to take them to court to get this like common sense, no-brainer remedy. And so we're asking people to go to gp.org and check out our ballot access page. You can go straight to gp.org/ballot_access, and you can see the states where we're currently petitioning, see the states where we're already on the ballot. There's a donate button where you can contribute directly to our ballot access efforts. Going to court's expensive. And this is one of the many ways that the two-party cartel keeps people outside, is they refuse to listen to people unless they're taken to court. But going to court requires lawyers, and even when lawyers are working pro bono, like they're still filing fees, and lawyers still, even the ones who are doing pro bono work, there are costs that go along with it. When you're talking about dozens of states, then that really mounts up. So we're really looking for help, and we want people to volunteer with our ballot access team. There's a lot of people who have come to the Green Party in the last couple of weeks who are really interested in the Green Party as a real opposition to the two corporate parties. And this is one way that people can plug in with something that we need right now, which is like, we've got to get our candidates, both state, local, and national, on the ballot and give people a real choice this year.
Wasn't it something to you? And I said this when I covered the initial story on Get Your News On with Ron. Isn't it something that when it comes to our votes, I can speak particular to California. We use this bogus machinery that had never been tested before, and all the early analysis of it showed every red flag imaginable. The report that was submitted to Alex Padilla was, it almost read like a really bad comedy sketch, where it's like everything that could possibly go wrong with these machines, it's susceptible for all that stuff. We used it anyway, didn't give a hoot. Of course, everything went wrong. When I went to vote, half the machines weren't even working. There's no paper trail whatsoever. Isn't it amazing? When it comes to our vote, there's little to no transparency whatsoever. But when it comes to challenging the two-party duopoly, transparency is really important. We need those physical signatures then. And I'm calling for a fair process across the board. But isn't it very interesting, the selective requirements for fairness?
Absolutely. And it shows that their definition is inherently unfair. It's only about maintaining their power structure. Like, you can see the contours of the power structure through these double standards. And the way the two-party cartel works is like it's kind of like an invisible cage. You don't see the bars of the cage until you run up against them. There are people who can spend a lot of their lives in politics, in advocacy organizations, 501c3s, non-for-profits, doing great work. And they have no idea that these arcane ballot access restrictions are out there until they actually try to run for office themselves, or they support someone directly who is challenging the two-party cartel. And it's unlike anything else in our society. It's crazy.
I like how you refer to it as the two-party cartel. That's pretty.
You know what's crazy, Ron, is like cartel in the etymology of it. It's actually referred to political parties colluding together way before it was
really
used to apply. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's cool, where it comes from. Yeah. It's a German word. That. Yeah.
Really? I did not know. You speak German, don't you?
No.
Why did I think that?
I've got a lot of German ancestry on my mom's side and my dad's side.
Okay.
Too.
All right. Yeah. Maybe that's how it came up then. All right. Fair enough. But you don't, have you been?
I have not. I've been to the Netherlands. That's the closest. I've been to Netherlands and I've been to Brussels. But
Berlin's one of my favorite places in the world, man. I love Berlin. It's not, I mean, the rest of Germany is super different because it's like usually when you say, oh, I love Germany, they're like, Berlin and it's like, well, I love all of it, but Berlin has a really special place. But I love
Potsdamer Platz. Potsdamer Platz, man. Yeah.
Well, it's like the rest is kind of the more Bavarian culture. So the rest of Germany is kind of, what you expect when you just hear Germany and you're in the United States, but Berlin is just like its own entity and it's out there and they'll let you know that too. It's like, well, Berlin is like, all right, well, I love it all. But so then looking forward, I've had this conversation with a few different people and I'd like to get your take as well. I see this as a huge moment for the Green Party and just for basically all lefties and, progressive minded people, because you have a whole new generation who's looking around and they're going, where the hell am I going to go? Electorally, where the hell am I going to go? I don't want to pick between an alleged rapist and an alleged rapist. I don't want to pick between these two corporate oligarchs. We need real solutions. We need a climate solution that wasn't relevant in 1986 and is going to do nothing going forward. That's pretty much the equivalent of nothing at all, which is what the other guy's offering. We need real solutions. So how, in your words, do you convince all of those people, young and old and in between, that the Green Party is the solution for them?
We believe that everyday people need a political party to call home that is structurally and critically financially independent of the capitalist power structure and the two parties of war and Wall Street that we know live to serve the capitalist power structure. And so because the Green Party as an entire party has never accepted corporate contributions, we've never accepted corporate money. We have always been a grassroots funded and therefore grassroots accountable party, can be the vehicle, it can be the electoral arm of social movements and people's movements in this country. We have to field and recruit candidates, and we have to build up our infrastructure to become that home and to fight those battles in the electoral arena. Because what we've seen time and time again is you'll have strong people's movements and social movements that are even doing amazing things in the streets. But then once you get around to election time, or once you're talking about the halls of the legislature, all of that gets pushed out of the frame. And so breaking the duopoly is an imperative. It's going to be hard. It's always been hard. And the miracle of the Green Party is that it has endured and that it is continuing to run after decades of challenging the two-party cartel, after decades of lawsuits and smears and propaganda. And for even those people who are not ready to join the Green Party, who are not ready to register green, let's work together to break this two-party system that everyone agrees is screwing us over. Let's work on proportional representation together. Let's work on ranked choice voting together. That's something that whatever organization that you currently belong to, we can start fighting for ranked choice voting and proportional representation in our city and county legislatures and elected offices now. And let's use the time while we're in lockdown, many of us, to be talking to each other about what we can do to, number one, support the, I think, massive strikes that are going to be necessary in order to fight the austerity that's going to come out of COVID-19, that's going to devastate our state and city budgets even worse than they already were. So we have to be part of those fights. But also, let's start changing the code of our election system so that we get rid of this spoiled election system. Greens agree the system is spoiled. Absolutely, there are spoiled elections, but it's the systems that has spoiled it, not any particular candidate or any particular party that's participating in them.
So you said like there has been an uptick in green interest in light of everything that's going on, which of course makes sense. How would you sum that up as far as like numerically? Like would you say compared to last time, we have seen about a 10% increase as far as numbers go? Like if you could kind of sum up like how big the interest is from your end inside the Green Party, what would you say?
Compared to 2016, I don't have great perspective because I've only been working for the National Party since September of last year. So I've been kind of thrown into the mix of things right away. I did work on the Jill Stein for President campaign in 2016. And again, it's still hard to compare that because I was in a campaign setting as opposed to the National Party setting. And also we have this just completely paradigm shattering pandemic situation right now. But I will tell you that we have seen a tenfold increase in support, interest, signups, volunteers since Senator Sanders suspended his campaign for president. So like an order of magnitude more interest than, the day before that happened. And look, 4 years ago, Sanders, he campaigned through the rest of the state primaries. And so his suspension of his campaign and then his endorsement of Joe Biden this early on was unexpected for a lot of people, including me, I'll admit. So we have a lot of work to do to welcome and bring on board the people who have expressed interest. And we're hard at work at that. And like, it's a challenge because like, of course, like we live for new people wanting to get involved, wanting to join the fight. We also want to do a good service to those people who are coming to us. We want to be able to hook them up with greens that they can work with. We want to be able to hook them up with volunteer work that is meaningful to them, that has an impact. And there's like some orientation that needs to happen for that to work. And so we got Greens hard at work at that right now.
So final question. If Jesse Ventura does file something, can I get a pledge from you that the first media outlet to know about it will be Get Your News On with Ron? I'm kidding.
You got me, Ron. Ron, I thought I was coming on to talk about the NFL draft today. I thought I was going to, I had my mock draft board. All right?
I didn't even know what was going on.
Look, I'm telling you, Ron, someone's going to go up and get Tua Tagovailoa, okay? Health issues be damned. No.
But I think we're about 2 years away from drafting attorneys for each team. I think we're 2 years away where they're going to draft an attorney. And then whenever there's a call where they're just like, we don't know what a catch is anymore, so we have no idea what to do, the attorneys are going to go out there. They'll be like, debate. And that's why. It's not even fun watching an NFL game anymore. It's just like...
Well, my moment of surrealness this morning was waking up to all the chatter about Jesse Ventura, and it kind of like reminded me in a bizarre way of NFL draft rumors. It was weird. But
it's an interesting parallel. I like it. Well, do you want to can you give an educated guess? Do you think he's going to do it, or do you think he's not going to do it? Just you can speak to you as an individual.
Me as an individual, I will accept it when I see it.
All right.
Nothing,
Fair enough.
not in this world, like nothing happens until it happens. And I at the risk of sounding like Yogi Berra, like I've seen it too many times where you're told something's going to happen. This person's going to do this. That person's going to do X, Y, Z. And maybe everyone involved believes that's going to happen. But then stuff happens because we're talking about pretty high stakes here. Jesse Ventura deciding to run for the Green Party nomination for president could have real impacts on the rest of his career as a broadcaster, as a person in public life. And so I don't want to preempt anything until either him or an official campaign says something public about it.
Well, a side note to that too. I mean, almost every statement I make these days, I always preface it with, well, in an unprecedented time like this, you never know, but you know, I mean, because it's like we're just in such an unprecedented moment where it's like, yeah, you never know what could possibly happen right now. But if things don't go totally off the rails, this is what I imagine might happen. This is a guess. But so where can people go to learn more, Michael ONeill, and to get involved and to figure out what's going on? I think you pretty much said it, but say it again for everybody at home.
Sure. Well, you can always go to gp.org, and we would love you to please sign up and get on our newsletter so we can keep you up to date what's going on. Sign up to volunteer. That's always really helpful. Tell us what you're interested in, what kind of work you're interested in doing, the kind of issues that you want to work on. You can follow us on Twitter at Green Party US. You can also find us on Facebook. And please do follow, retweet, signal boost. We have to cut through the corporate media wall of silence. And we are really looking forward to just taking this fight to the finish line and giving everything that we have, because as you said, Ron, like there are real solutions out there to the real crises that we face, and those real solutions can't wait.
Thanks so much for joining me, man. I always love chatting with you. Stay safe out there.
Thank you, Ron. All right, you
man.
too.
Best of luck. Cheers, buddy. Michael ONeill, gp.org. Filling us in on some stuff. Always love chatting with Michael. He's a great guy. Fun guy to chat with. I didn't even know the NFL draft was today. I didn't even know that. I guess maybe it's coming up. I'm not even sure. I'm just crossing my fingers that they bring hockey back. But Michael ONeill, gp.org. Check it out. Find out how you can get involved if that is of interest to you. Sparky, what's up, buddy? John Murr and Teddy Roosevelt were friends. Thank you, Sparky. Sparky, Teddy Roosevelt busted up monopolies and trusts. And then Sparky follows it up with, maybe we need a Teddy Roosevelt today. Where's one? That's a valid question. As far as breaking up monopolies and trusts, you know, I think it's on us now, man. I mean, I really do. And I've said that before. I kind of think it's on us now. I don't think any type of politician is going to lead us out of this. And I think we really got to, find our own solutions via movements. And we got to kind of pressure politicians, whoever they may be, to act in our interest. I think that's what it's going to take. So, my 2020 endorsement is for a national strike, a general strike, and continued protests. And Kate, let me see what you're saying. Man, I hate it when YouTube does that thing. It's so freaking annoying. They cut off your last chat so you can't see it, and then you gotta go backwards and you gotta find it. And now I can't find it anyway. That's insanely annoying. If you haven't already, I can kind of read it. If you haven't already, please sign the We the American People Demand paper ballots. That's all I can see. So that's all I can see, Kate. But thank you for it. If anyone can put it in the chat for me down below, I will read it. But if you haven't already, please sign the We the American People Demand paper ballots. Will you and Graham, Mars, what's up? Good to see you. Whiskey and a t-shirt for life. Will you and Graham do a review of the new doc Planet of the Humans? I still need to watch it. I've not watched it yet, but when I do watch it, I will talk about it. Absolutely. I've heard. So I was on the phone with my buddy Dave, who had watched it already, and his analysis was, "It's really great. You're going to be depressed as hell." That was what he said. So I was going to watch it last night, but by the time I got to it, it was already really late, and I was like, I'm just not really feeling like a super heavy documentary right now. Not right now, I'm just not right now. But I do need to watch that. I do need to watch that, and it's on my list. And when I see it, I will certainly talk about it. And oh man, someone gave me a pair. Kathy Lloyd, thank you very much for your very generous super chat contribution. And it's a pair dancing amidst the buildings. I got some pairs. They're actually pretty good. Which, by the way, guys, for anyone who has been following my Farmers Market Chronicles, the Farmers Market is open today in my area, which means I'm going to go get to see Apple Bro. And I'll give a summary of Apple Bro tomorrow. Will he be excited to see me? I don't know. Will he have his good apples? Presumably, yes. His apples are awesome. Is he actually the mayor of California? A job that we never knew existed, but if it does, Apple Bro's got it. That we'll find out too. Maybe I'll ask him. I'll be like, hey, man, are you the mayor of California? Do you really run this? Did you make a deal with the devil for your apples to be this freaking good? His apples are good and he knows it. But I'm going to get to see Apple Bro today. And I'm real excited to see him. And so there you go. I'm stoked for that. All right. Sparky, thank you very much. Kate, thank you very much. A. Mars, thank you very much. Kathy Lloyd, thank you very much. Couple announcements. Graham Elwood and I have our Zoom show on Saturday. We're doing those every Saturday until the pandemic ends. You can go to romplacone.com for tickets. They're just $5. And a Zoom link will be sent to your inbox shortly before the show starts. And Graham Elwood and I do a live show via Zoom. They're a lot of fun. Those happen at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Saturdays. And the next one is this coming Saturday, again at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Make some plans for Saturday night. $5, romplacone.com. Also, if you are on stable ground financially and are able, patreon.com/romplacone for a give what you can level. You get all kinds of content. If you're looking for more content during this pandemic, I got a bunch of it for you. Podcasts, writings, a patrons only stream once a week where I respond directly to the patrons. I do a private Zoom show for just patrons once a week. And I'm going to keep, even after the pandemic's over, I'm going to keep doing that because it's been a lot of fun. All kinds of stuff. And that's for a give what you can level. You get my album. You can just download my album. That's for a give what you can level, and you help me expand this show. I do want to, I'm going to start on the municipal broadband mini documentaries as soon as the dust settles in this crazy state of affairs we are in right now. That project is still in the works. I'm doing the Sounds of Revolution series. Unfortunately, it's all remote, which was not what I originally wanted to do, but we're dealing with the situation we're in. So if you are so able, patreon.com/romplacone. Guys, stay safe in this crazy world of ours. Thanks again to Michael ONeill, our guest today, gp.org, to learn more about what the Green Party is up to and how they're trying to assure ballot access across the country for 2020. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace. Which, by the way, want to learn more about Lucy, lucyandron.com. Check out the Lucy and Ron comic, lucyandron.com. Read the comic. Why not? Record deed. Peace.